My name is Ben Guilford, I'm the owner of the Melbourne Fire Brick Company. And this video we want to show you how to install our fire pit ring. The fire pit ring comes with an optional base plate that you can mount it to. You'll see the foot, the bottom there has 4 holes and they line up with the holes in the base plate. You can just bolt the fire pit ring onto the base plate and then it'll be perfectly stable. You can pick it up and move it around and put it wherever you want. The alternative to that is to bolt it down, and that was actually the original design, was to have it with a fairly minimal footprint and to have it bolted to a concrete pad, and so that way it's sort of got this lovely minimalist look to it. So that's what we're going to show you how to do today. You will need a few tools. You're going to need a texter, a level, you're going to need a hammer drill and some masonry anchors. You're also going to need some silicone, some rags and some masking tape. But we'll take you through the process of how to do this. It's not super difficult, it is fairly straightforward, but it was something we thought we might like to show you. Okay, so the first thing is to figure out where to put the fire pit. Where do you want to have it? That's obviously a personal choice. Make sure you think about things like nearby flammable objects. Obviously don't put it under a roof, for example. You can't do that. It has to be clear above it because you can get some serious heat coming off the fire pit bowl once it's in there. So be smart. Like, think, all right, where can I put this so that myself, my friends, my family can sit around and enjoy it without worrying about burning the neighborhood to the ground. All right, now we've already got a spot. We like a spot that's right here, so I'll get my beautiful assistant Marcus to help me. This thing is quite heavy. This is industrial strength steel, so it weighs a good 40 kilos, so you do want 2 people. First step would be get it where you want it. Don't worry about getting it level or anything like that yet, and just mark the location of the holes. Right? Now you've got your hole set out, done. So next step is to drill those holes. Before we do that, I'm going to take you through what I consider to be the 2 best options for anchors. All right, this is a Dynabolt. These are really common. You might have come across them before. Basically, it's got a few parts. So we've got a nut and a couple of expanding, I guess, collars, I call them. And then you've got, this is the main body of it. The shaft of it has a flared end. So these go on, and then this goes on. And these are very, very simple to install. You just drop them into your hole, hammer them in. Obviously, you've got to drill the right diameter hole to suit the particular anchor that you're using. Drop them into the hole, hammer them in, and then you tighten the nut on top. And what that does is it flares this collar out, which grabs inside the hole. Now, they're not particularly expensive. They've got really good strength, all of that. They tick all those boxes. The only problem is if you want to remove them, you can't. They are staying in there, they're permanent. So if you are installing these, my advice would be measure the length of it, drill your hole maybe 50 mil deeper, even if it means you do go all the way through, right? Then you hammer it in, you install your fire pit. When you're done, when one day you want to pull it out, all you have to do is take the nut off and then you can hammer it all the way in until it's flush with the concrete. So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is a concrete screw is probably the best description of it. It's a very coarse threaded bolt, and you can just screw these straight into the concrete. I do like these purely, I guess, because you can remove them and you're just left with a little hole that you can patch up later on. So that's what we're going to be using today. We're going to be using a 10 mil diameter variety of this. You can use a 12 mil if you really want. The holes are big enough to handle it, but it's not really necessary. 10 mil is going to be more than strong enough to hold it down. Okay, so we've got the holes marked. We know the anchors that we're going to be using. Let's do it. We're going to move the ring out of the way. Again, make sure you don't do that by yourself. The thing's very heavy. Get a friend, or if you've got a beautiful assistant like I do, get them involved. Make sure you use your safety equipment, so earmuffs. I cannot stress enough to wear safety glasses. I have had concrete hit me in the eye while drilling a hole before, And you think, oh, it just goes sideways, right? And it doesn't. When you drill a hole into concrete, it creates pressure. And as you pull the drill back, it can go boom, and a little bit of concrete can fly out and hit you right in the face. And that happened to me, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. If you're in a confined space, you might want to think about wearing a mask as well, because the dust is not particularly good. But to be honest, you shouldn't be installing one of these in a confined space. If you don't have a hammer drill, you can hire them. They're also not particularly expensive. You'll find almost every builder has an Ozito hammer drill. They're really cheap, and they last for a while, and they're going to drill as many holes as you're ever likely going to want to. Alright, so our hole's all drilled. We've gone to enough depth to get the bolt all the way in, and you always allow at least another 20 mil below that, because dust, powder tends to come off the thread as it's going into the hole, builds up in the bottom, and it stops, sort of builds up in the bottom and stops the bolt from going in to the full depth. So we'll get our ring over here and we'll bolt it down. Now, at this point, you have the option of leveling it up. So if your pad is on a bit of a tilt, particularly if it's tilting, if we look at the orientation that this is in, if it's tilting this way and it's going to look a bit odd for you, then I recommend getting some shims. You can get some plastic packers, something like these things. You can buy them at Bunnings, and these have got these lovely little sort of, I don't know, fronds that go around the bolt, so you can get the bolt in place, put these in and just tuck them all the way in till you can't see them. So you can put them in after you put in your bolts. I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to use a rattle gun to put these in. You could also use just a ratchet. Just make sure when you're doing the last few turns, probably use the, instead of using your standard ratchet, use the full bar that doesn't have the mechanism in the head, because these can take a lot more torque than this mechanism can. You can actually break it. But I'm feeling a little lazy today, so I'm going to be using the rattle gun. I deliberately didn't rattle that all the way up, because I always like to get all the bolts in before I do the final tighten. Otherwise you might find you put in 3 and one hole is just a tiny bit off, and all you had to do is just tweak it around a bit, but you can't because you've done them up too tight. So don't do them all up all the way, get them almost all the way down, then you can check if you want to change anything, if you want to get it level, and then you rattle them all up. You might find that you rattle one in, or you wind it in, and it just will not go all the way, and what's happened is some powder, some dust has gotten into the bottom of the hole, and it's just preventing it from going any further. Good news is, all is not lost. Just pull it out, get your drill out the hole that little bit deeper, really make sure you've cleaned it out. If you have compressed air, you can blow it out. Most people don't have that at home. Just get the drill and really make sure you clean that hole out as much as you can. Then you should find it'll go all the way down. Got this leveled on here, and I'm fairly happy with the level that it is this way. In terms of going this way, your reference point is the ring at the top. So if you set your level up so that one edge is on the ring and the other edge lines up with the upright, then you can see now ours needs to just, if we're really worried about it, we can just tilt it up a little bit. So we'll do that. We'll just put a couple of packers under these two, and that's gonna tilt it up. It is spot on. Very happy with that. Now if it needed to come up further, I could put in another packer. Packers come in a lot of different sizes, a lot of different thicknesses, so you've got lots of fine adjustment. So now you'll notice that the packers are actually hanging out from that foot just a little bit. We're not worried about that because we're going to be running a bead of silicone around the base when it's all done. So now that we've got it level, we're happy with the location of it, we're happy with everything. Now we're going to rattle it down for good. So we've got this bolted down. It's really sturdy. This is not going anywhere. So the next step to get it looking, get it looking really nice, we're going to run a bead of black silicone around the base plate, which is going to do two things. It looks nice for starters, it's going to make it look finished, but secondly, it also protects the underside of the plate from corrosion. Because if water gets in under there, even though we're putting a lovely powder coat onto these, and it is weather resistant, we don't want water ponding on it for long periods of time, because eventually that's going to want to rust it out. So we'll run that silicone bead around the edge. Now, to make it look good, there is a trick. Masking tape is what we can use to set the edges of the silicone. So we're going to run silicone up to the top edge of the plate, and we're going to run it down 10 millimeters off the edge. Look, if you're a professional tiler or someone who uses silicone every single day, then you can probably do it by eye. Masking tape, it makes it a lot easier, and even if you've never used silicone before, you get a nice clean result with it. Right, the silicone that we recommend using is by a company called Sika, and it's Sikaflex 11FC. This is a construction grade adhesive and silicone. It is absolutely phenomenal stuff. So you can buy it at most hardware stores. It will get on you. I guarantee you, even if you're not using it, it will somehow get on you. It is ridiculous. It ends up on everything. So make sure you're not wearing clothes that you love. Have some rags nearby. It is difficult to clean it up. Really, the only thing that gets it off is acetone. Right, so got some silicone around it. See, doesn't look great now, and that's where finger comes in. So if you're smart, you'll wear a glove, and then you won't end up with Sikaflex in your skin forever. But I use this stuff all the time. So now we can take off the tape. We do this while it's still wet, because then it's going to leave us with a nice crisp edge. Just peel off the tape and try and pull it away from the silicone. So rather than into it, you're pulling away from it. Just make sure you don't touch the tape onto the ground at all. And we're done. Okay, now if there are any little, you might find a couple of little bits of silicone sort of hang out the edges on you when you pull the tape off. Don't worry about them now, you're just going to make a mess. Let it set, come back with a razor blade, and you can cut off any little dags that might be hanging off the edges. The ring's in place, now we want to fit off the bowl. So your fire pit comes with a D-shackle that you'll use to hold the cables together at the top and secure it to the ring, and then you have 3 carabiners, stainless steel carabiners that you'll be using to hold it onto the fire pit itself. We really recommend that you get someone to help you do this. It makes it a lot easier. Get the bowl in the middle. I like to just get the D-shackle in, ready and waiting. Okay, because we'll put that up in a second. Whoa. Get your cables and just put carabiners onto the end of each cable. Now, here's something that every photo shoot that we've done, every magazine shoot that we've done, I've managed to put one of these around back to front. But if you just bring it down, put the opening part on here, snap, it's in. If you do that the same for all of them, they'll all be facing the same way. Not that it really matters, but on. That's on. All right, now we have 3 cables. So we bring, one goes in the middle, one goes on one side, and one goes on the other side, and that way they're going to be nice and neat. Now, technically you can do this by yourself, but it is really hard. It's much easier if you have someone here to help you. So Marcus, I'll get Marcus to lift the bowl for me. Okay, so we've got our 3 on here. We get that done up nice and tight, fantastic. And now bring it down, we're done. Well, that's basically all there is to it. So you're going to bolt the fire pit down, get some silicone around the base, get your fire pit bowl all fitted, and job's done. So in our next video, we're going to show you how you can get a fire going in this. Now again, this is not rocket science, but there are some ways that work really well. We've got one that we really like, so we'll show you.